Okay, well, I want to talk about the labor movement, and the reason I was thinking about it, and I don't want to delve into the reason I was thinking about it though was the union strike with the rails, but I just want to speak more broadly and get your thoughts because in 2020 the Trump campaign held a rally with some union workers, and very close nearby at the same time, some union bosses from the same union were having an event for Biden. And it was just this one of those split screen moments where, wow, you have, yeah, President Trump and the America First agenda, American First conservative movement. It's really tapped into a working class ethos, and then contrast that with, look at the donations of union bosses and how liberal it is. And I mean, do you think that that's something that the conservative movement should celebrate in terms of it's becoming more worker class focused? And if so, how should we continue it?
Well, let me just say one thing and take a step back and say when we talk about unions, it's very important to make a big distinction. I am a huge supporter of public sector unions. They help create the middle class. They've given workers all kinds of benefits. I am and but what I'm totally opposed to is public sector unions, okay? Public employees should have never been allowed to unionize. FDR had this wisdom. It was JFK nationally, and sadly in California, our twice elected Edmund G. Brown who let that horse out of the barn. Because the main reason is that private sector unions, it's mutually assured destruction. The company goes out of business, everybody loses. Public sector unions, the government's not going out of business. Plus, you have the fox watching the hen house, right? They're bribing the very people that are supposed to be regulating them. And that's why you have all these ridiculous pension over promises. But that's a conversation for another day. But to answer your question, I think that, look, and first of all, the unions, workers, and management are, if anything, management tends to be more behind Republicans. Workers tend to be more behind Democrats. Now, there may be some exceptions like the police union, but overall, most unionized workers are solid Democrats. And when you talk about the Republican Party making inroads with rural working union voters, you're talking about working class voters, which are voters without a college degree. And I've said this before: the Democrats discarded these voters. This was their bread and butter. It was a terrible mistake. They're not focusing enough on getting them back because there's very little daylight between Trump voters and them on kitchen table issues. That's what they focused at in 2018. That's why they won. That's what they didn't focus on in 2020. That's why, other than Joe Biden winning, it was not a very good election for them. So the writing's on the wall with what the Democrats need to do to get those voters back. But I see no problem with different sectors of different corporations attending whatever functions they want to attend.
Well, what I find troubling is that California wants to basically subsidize unions with taxpayer money. That to me is even a bigger red flag.
Well, that's a very broad term. What do you mean specifically? A lot of states do that, but what are you talking about now?
They want to give special tax credits to unions. And these unions then go around and donate to Democrats. So you're basically having taxpayers subsidize Democrat donations.
Well, there's two issues. First of all, there's not the union workers, there's the unions themselves. And I agree that I think that there's a real issue that union members should have a right to decide when they join a union whether they want their dues used for political campaigns. That's a decision each worker should make. Unions should not make that. So I'm with you on that, okay? But as far as special privileges go, that sounds like individual union members don't get tax credits. You can't deduct, if you're a union member, you can't deduct a donation on your California taxes just because you're a union member that you couldn't deduct if you were another worker. So that's not true. So I'm not quite sure what you're talking about, but I'm certainly willing to admit California, as a California resident, has way too many regulations. And I do think, again, as you're seeing this polarization in states where it's either too little or too much. And I do think in terms of, as a small business owner, a lot of these laws like, forced family leave, I think people should be able to take care of a loved one, but the law is written very broadly. So people don't necessarily have to give a reason. They can say, oh, I'm sick, so you have to pay me for X amount of time. I don't think that's right. So as usual, it seems like California and a lot of other liberal states are probably going a little bit too far off the deep end on this. I would certainly agree with you on that. So
Well,
we will.
this is a brand new law that just passed in September that Newsom signed, and it will give a tax credit for union dues. So
Okay,
there you
well,
have it.
yeah, a tax credit for union dues. Yeah, that's different than making a contribution. But anyway, you and I, we agree on the general principle. And again, I don't think unions are helped by this. And again, you look at CalPERS, right? When you have a pension fund, you're paying out every year. So it's not like an IRA where you can rely on the magic of compound interest to give you a much greater annualized return. Any pension manager will tell you more than 4% a year is unrealistic. CalPERS has been promising 8% a year. It's just insane. So again, it's a classic, the famous political saying, IBG, YBG, I'll be gone and you'll be gone when the bill comes due. So on that wonderful, cheerful note, I will really take the time to wish all of you the happiest holiday season. I hope you have a wonderful time with the ones that you love. And from all of us at the show, we look forward to seeing you hopefully very soon.
Till next time.